Hey everybody, Charles Calhoun, aka the Shade Tree Pro. I hope everybody had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Merry Christmas, and I hope you also have a Happy New Year. Hey, listen, I'm coming to you from the Marriott Grand Vista here in Orlando, Florida, where I own and operate my teaching business under the Shade Tree. Now, today, I'm gonna talk about something that I, I've always disagreed with it. And not only that, I'm gonna give you my reasons why I disagree with it, and because it was something that I learned in racquetball. Now, and I remember when this guy was giving me a lesson in racquetball, I thought it was so good, and and I was a pretty good racquetball player. But one of the things is that concept of they talking in the golf swing, shallow, shallow. I remember I had one of the young black tour players I was helping out. I mean, he just couldn't get out of his head. You got to shallow the club, and it was annoying. I won't lie to you, because the simple fact is he didn't really know why he was doing it. He think he was doing it for the right reason, but the truth is it was only because the Joe Blow was doing it, so he was doing it in a sense. And I don't think it was ever good for his golf swing, and I don't really think it's good for you all's golf swing as well, because the action of it is not really conducive to trying to hit a golf ball. Now, I was watching the guy's name, Rick Macy. I think he was the guy who taught Venus and Serena, in tennis. Now, he was talking about, like, when you go to, say, hit a tennis ball, or you getting your forehand in tennis, you kind of want to he was showing this guy how to keep the club up here. I mean, how to keep the handle up, or the racket up. And then when the ball comes, boom, you can go into this position here, boom. You can go in this position here. It's just like a little loop. This position here, boom. This position here, boom. Now, what he also said in that video, he said when you go from this position, it allows the elbow just to naturally, just basically just, flow, around or with the body cavity. And that's a natural action. No different when we take it and we skip in a rock, boom. It's the same thing here. We're making, as I call it, creating that C, that roll, that C, which goes right along with my rolling the shaft. Well, when these people start talking about shallowing the golf club, let me show you also what he said. He said, but he wasn't talking about the golf swing, of course, he was talking about tennis. And he said what happens with most people, a lot of people with their forehands, they'll get that hand up here, and then all of a sudden they'll drop this right here, and now that club's behind them, and now they have to turn the body, and they get stuck in here, and they got to do a huge rotation in a sense to be able to get the body around, and to get the racket around. And it does cause a little bit of conflict with timing, because if you drop this and then all of a sudden you try to bring all that around real fast, then all of a sudden now, like I said, it does become a timing issue. And a lot of the amateurs, and many of it, even some of the pros out there, might be good players, but not all the pros out there are, some great athletic specimens in a sense. As I said before, there is a move, and they all know how to get to that move, and it creates that line of compression that allows them to play good golf, or in most cases, great golf. Now, if you sit here, I'm gonna go from this side here. If you sit here, and then all of a sudden from this position, all I do, if I'm going to hit this ball, and all I do is I just, once I'm in my turn, and then all of a sudden when I scap drop, then all of a sudden I just, boom, I'm to that ball, boom. As I trigger my turn with my scap drop, boom, I'm to the ball. Whereas a lot of them now, if I go up here and now I want to shallow the club going back this way, then all of a sudden when you shallow the club, you're actually using this backside of your arm that's, in other words, it's almost like you're making a backwards loop. In a sense, you're going backwards, and look where that club is. Then all of a sudden you got to turn. You make this turn to kind of get there. And it just leads to all kinds of things. And to tell the truth, it's unnecessary because we don't want to have to excessively move our lower body in a sense or whatever. We want it to be in sequence, like especially in top down in my Y swing. We want to be able to lift, shift, and let it go. Now, one of the other things that many of you all probably don't think about or haven't even thought about when it comes to shallowing, because it's nothing new. Because I'm going to tell you, one of the greatest ball strikers who's ever lived, a guy by the name of Mo Norman. Mo Norman used to do this shallowing the club. He used to drop it, vertical drop. He used to drop it back behind it. But guess what happened? As he progressed, as he said, they were in, and I was watching one of the videos where he said he stopped doing that simply because it would stall. This action would stall the club. And I totally understand, because even when the guy was talking, Rick was talking about in tennis, he said, when you get here, that elbow gets stuck behind you. And you all heard it said before, oh, I feel like I'm stuck. Well, you feel like you're stuck because you're making the rotation or the shallowing motion, you're making it away from the body to where, it's gonna get stuck behind you because it's gotta go back in a sense, instead of keeping it up. Now, the way you correct that, as Rick was talking about, he said, when you in here, you get that, make sure you get that elbow up and away from the body. Shoulder girdle, scap up. You get that elbow away from the body almost like it's pointing to the fence. And then all of a sudden from there, when you drop, when you scap drop, not scap shallow, but when you scap drop, now it's just a little bit of a roll, boom, as they call it, little scap roll. And then all of a sudden you come there. And it's just a roll, like you're just rolling around a ball or something of that nature. I call it coning, and then you're just there. And then, you can roll the shaft, do whatever you want. And I think that's a much simpler way to be able to get to the ball, because as I was even speaking about Mo Norman, talking about that action stalled him, later on as he got older in his videos, you could see he really wasn't doing much of this like this anymore. He was just like, boom, just going that way with it. But I think that was something with his big lateral motion he felt, but he just could be able to bring it back through there. So, as I said, not a big fan of it. I think it's got more failures in doing it than success, because it requires way too much motion of the body. I just got this, once again, we outside. I just got this is like my 21. I got it bent to 22. That's that Apex, X board. But anyway, I'm gonna try to hit one here. And I'm just gonna use that, as I call it, the coning action with a good rhythm. Just see how I hit it. Hit that pretty good. But all it is, people, is I saw a guy who's very, very much about this shallowing. And I just think it's wrong. Because I just think it's wrong. I mean, and I don't like to say the word wrong, but I just think it's wrong. I think it's the wrong way, because I've seen these guys, they talking about, when you get here, here's how your shallowing works. It's almost, you make this squat like you're sitting in a chair, in a rotating chair. You shallow the club, and then the chair spins to bring you around. And see, here's the thing is with this, is that when the scap drops, this is already, as soon as you drop that scap, then all of a sudden the body's gone. And you don't have time to sit here and get down and then try to come around. I mean, that's just, and I know you see a lot of people doing this. I think of one of the guys, Mike and Sean for Athletic Golf Motion. They said this one video that Tiger did was when he did like this, he said it's hurt more people. But I don't think that's, I think Tiger, you know, Tiger got his ways of doing things, because Tiger doesn't even come close to doing anything like that. Even back in his day when he pressed down, I just thought Tiger just, you know, he just pressed that thing and he didn't drop it here. When he dropped it here, he got in trouble. That's when he would get stuck, and he had his, what he called, Olay swing. But people, if you want to get it right, and I'm going to say it, stop thinking about shallowing the club, because that is a backwards loop. A backwards loop. You see what I mean? A backwards loop. Then now you all of a sudden you got to come try to bring your body to bring it around, and that creates so much confusion and so much unnecessary timing, that if you just do it properly, get up there, because when the elbow's up, comes down, elbow extended. So get that sensation to where when you're up here, all you're doing is just making that, that elbow's up, that club's right here, it's just a coning action. It's not back here, it's right there, because it keeps that club right here in front of you. Boom, just like it will keep that racket right there in front of you. None of this. Why take it off plane when you've taken it back to get it on plane to be able to bring it back down? See if I can hit one here. There it is, people. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, you know, coming 2025, talk about some great things about my Y swing. I've had a guy who set me up, y'all may have seen it in some of the comments on it, talking about, you know, well, there's other people who did the Y swing that's been, you know, talk about the Y swing or whatever. They've been doing it for 75 years. Was I aware of that? Well, you know, of course I was aware of it. I'm aware of just about anything out there that they're teaching, because I pay attention to it. And the more you learn, in essence or whatever, the better you become, you know, and that's just, you know, that's just common sense. So sure, I know that there's people out there, you know, that's talked about the Y, because I mean, I have to be a fool to think that I'm the only one who looked down and saw this as a Y. But the difference is this, like I used to say, and I may have said this in one of my videos before, but when I was a corporate sales manager for Toyota, or even starting out as a salesman, you know, I remember a great old conversation that went like this, you know, and his name was Jimmy Moss, Big Jimmy. Big Jimmy said to me one day, because I was having a slow day, and you know, just like, just can't get no sales. I mean, they're not buying or whatever. And so I remember Jimmy saying to me, he said, Charles, he said, what are you trying to sell? I said, well, I'm trying to sell this silver Toyota. I think it was a silver or white Toyota. And I remember him saying something to me like this. He said, Charles, next customer you get, and you know, and they're on the fence of whether they want to buy, because they didn't come here just to look at cars, you know, they came to buy. You know, either they, I remember he said, either, you know, they come looking for a salesman. So are you a salesman? Of course I'm a salesman. He said, okay, then sell them a car. And he said, this is what you tell these when they ask you that. This is what you say. Hey, look, you can go to any dealership out here that you want, Toyota dealership, and you can buy a silver or white, whichever color the Toyota was. You can buy that at any of those dealerships. But this silver one right here today, you can only buy this one that I have shown you all these beautiful features. You can only buy this one right here from me. And that's what makes this Toyota right here more special than any other one out there. And that is the same mindset that I talk about when I write these things, and I talk about even the Y swing that I've created. The Y swing, you know, just top down, lift and shift Y swing. It's just perfect for what it is that I do. The thing is this, who's ever written it, wrote about it, talked about it 75 years or 100 years. Well, they didn't write it or talk about it with the swing concept of top down. They didn't look at it from that. They don't know the movements of top down. From what I've seen of the videos that they talk about, they still feel, about the ground up. So when I created the Y swing and I said, hey, they're not talking about that. They're still using the same old industry type of things, come from the ground up, in comparison to what I'm doing of learning all the movements that's necessary for scap down, or even more importantly, top down. So as the saying goes, just because somebody has done something and it works doesn't mean it can't be improved. Well, regardless of what they may have talked about or said about the Y swing, like I said, I'm doing the Shade Tree Pros Y swing, and in that Y swing or whatever, I have many, many, many improvements. And the most important thing, people, that you all have to understand about my Y swing is this: it comes with the dead finger and middle wrist in sports. It's also created with the 3 bodies: upper body, middle body, and lower body. And most importantly, it comes with that one critical thing that most people have trouble doing, is starting the golf swing. We all know with my Y swing, the very first move is to get the scap up so you can bring it back down. Hip tells you where to go: scap up and scap down. And that's the beauty of my Y swing. So people, once again, if you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. People, be safe out there. Enjoy the new year. I think there's a lot of great things going to happen in 2025. I know it's definitely going to be a lot of good things that's happening under the shade tree. Don't forget, my membership is $9.99. That's less than $120 a month. A year. People, like I said, we just got to keep balling, keep pushing. Hey, thanks for the people who keep subscribing. Thanks for people who's leaving comments, because if you really look at it right now, there's a lot of people keep talking about top down, because I can't think of no other way to swing it. This is Charles Calhoun, aka the Shade Tree Pro, and as you know how I say it, always good golfing.